So which Auburn Tigers and Arkansas Razorback teams are even going to show up at Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it's a crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. I'm Zach Blackerby. He is John Nabors. We're going to give our predictions and what we think will happen on Saturday inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium. But this matchup is fascinating, John, because if you look at the Arkansas side of it and you look at the Auburn side of it, there's no telling which two teams are actually going to show up and play football Saturday.
Yeah, man. Like, it's so funny that you're 3 games in and you feel like maybe you have a good idea of what one of these teams would be. But at least for the Arkansas sake, I shouldn't be surprised because it's kind of like what it was last year. But I've never felt like in such a short span that this team could be really good or they could be really terrible. And that's kind of what Auburn finds themselves in. So that's why this game's interesting and could potentially be entertaining, but also could be disgusting and one of the worst football games we've ever seen. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it could be a shootout, and it could be just, all right, neither offense shows up, and it's kind of the stalemate go halfway through the third quarter. Who knows? But you've got two different sides of this, I think. On the Arkansas side of it, I mean, it seems like Taylon Green is electric and has the potential to be dynamic, and then Jaquindon Jackson is this electric running back who's been productive so far this season. On the Auburn side of it, we've had a quarterback change. They bench Peyton Thorne. They start Hank Brown as a redshirt freshman. And, I mean, he did it against New Mexico, but obviously that's going to be different with Arkansas coming to town.
Yeah, it's funny when you're looking at the stats and where these teams rank and as far as offense and defense, a lot of similarities. I mean, the both defenses are actually really good against the run, but not so good against the pass. Arkansas's offense overall, though, yardage-wise and everything has been really good. In fact, they're one of the top-tier ones in the SEC and even in the country. Problem is they don't put in the end zone enough. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of crazy to think about, like for Taylon Green, for instance. He has shown cases of being incredible. He threw for over 400 yards against Oklahoma State, rushed for over 100. I mean, the guy's electric, but then against UAB just looked very average at best. So
what do you think that is? I mean, do you think there was some kind of hangover of going on the road, almost getting a ranked win? I mean, I was kind of shocked at your reaction and the fan base's reaction to falling short. I almost thought that would be almost a moral victory because of how good the showing was for the offense. And then obviously against UAB, it wasn't that. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Arkansas, you're the fans of Arkansas, all of them are not just sitting back and hoping for the best and whatever. It's like, no, you better show something. And it was just the constant way that it was last year, where in that game against Oklahoma State specifically, Arkansas should have blown the doors off of them. Arkansas doubled them up on offensive yards. Doubled them up. They had 650 offensive yards, and they lost. So it's just like Arkansas, if there's a way to lose a game, Arkansas is going to find a way. That's how people feel. So, and the UAB follow-up for that, it goes back to also last year. Arkansas's worst performances, and Auburn fans can remember this, their worst performances were at home. And Auburn destroyed them. Missouri destroyed them. They lost a game 7-3. My brothers in Christ, like that was a real score to a real game, and it was another bad performance at home. So it's almost like Razorback fans are just kind of feeling like, hey, this is the same song, different verse so far this year, and that's the problem.
The travel component to this. I mean, do you think that this matter? I mean, I know you just mentioned what Arkansas did at home that wasn't impressive a year ago. Do you think the fact that it's away from home, it could potentially be good, or do you think this is a situation where, like, weird things happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium all the time?
No, I actually think it's great because, again, Arkansas's best performances. Like last year, they lost to Bama on the road by 3, lost to LSU on the road by 3, lost to Ole Miss on the road by 7.
That's a good point. Sure.
So it's like, if you want to get Arkansas's best game, stay away from Fayetteville, apparently, because that makes sense. But like, and that's what the Auburn game, like last year, even though Arkansas wasn't good, it was still a little bit shocking to see Auburn do what they did to Arkansas. But Auburn
that was Auburn's best game of the year last year. I mean, I don't think there's any question about it.
Yeah, and I think that Auburn caught Arkansas at their worst time, which understand Pittman, other than 2021, usually the end of the year is their worst time. So now this is the opposite. Both teams getting each other early. But, I feel like and you can probably correct me on this, but I feel like Arkansas's offense is going to move the ball. I feel like they're going to do a good job against it. We'll see how Arkansas's defense holds up. But to me, it sounds cliche. I think whoever makes the least amount of mistakes in this game is the one that's actually going to win, because neither teams know how to get turnovers. That's another incredible thing. They're horrible at it.
Yeah, that's been frustrating. And turnovers for Auburn, I mean, just losing the turnover battle in the season, like Auburn's running back room is a room where we felt super confident about going into the season with Jarquez Hunter and Damari Austin. And these guys have had a hard time holding on to the football. And it's like, okay, and then on the other side of it, the defense isn't generating as many turnovers as possible. So I'm with you. I mean, because I think these teams are close. That's the reason it's a 3.5-point line, according to our friends at FanDuel, in favor of the home team. So minus 3 points. It's essentially a push if these teams were playing at a neutral site, which seems fair. That seems on point. But if that's the case, and it's the team with the fewer mistakes, Hank Brown's making his first ever start in the SEC, his second start in his collegiate career. The kid doesn't seem like a normal redshirt freshman. He seems to process information pretty quickly, but it's still, you just don't know, John. You just don't know how a kid's going to respond.
Yeah. And also, too, what I think may be a benefit to Arkansas, at least I would think so, is that not only is Talon Green, a quarterback, a pretty experienced guy, but then you have the fact that Arkansas's already played a legit, true road game against a quality opponent, to which they should have won.
Sure.
And I wish I knew what Auburn fans were feeling. It's like when you get your first 4 or 5 games at home, what that must be like. It must be nice. But
I think the average Auburn fan doesn't love it. By the way,
well,
I don't think we love it.
And I'm not trying to bring up that old Cal game, but that's still you guys cost me a lot of money. So thank you for that. But
yeah,
sure. It was rough. But that's, again, goes back to this whole thing of the quarterback.
That's what you get for betting on Auburn, if we're being honest here.
Okay, well, I figured that they would have a home field advantage that would beat a Pac or whatever. I don't even know what conference they're in now.
They're in the ACC.
Whatever. Yeah. Beat an ACC team, but still, yeah. And neither team is feeling themselves. And seem like, I feel like almost the fan bases are kind of in the same route too. But man, I mean, after that Cal game, I think the average Auburn fan was down in the dumps. I mean, rightfully so. But them benching Peyton Thorne and starting Hank Brown, I mean, it has re-energized the football program and the fan base. And I think it's kind of this renewed confidence. I mean, leaving the Cal game, I'm thinking there's no way in the world I am picking Auburn to beat Arkansas in 2 weeks, was what I was telling myself. Now with them pulling Peyton and starting Hank, now it's like, yeah, I mean, I at least I see the upside of the offense. Now there's hope again, hope for the future, not only for this season, but in future seasons, if Hank can develop as a passer and as a quarterback, which he seems like he's going to. Just the dynamic of Hank Brown versus Talon Green is fascinating to me. Like, it's just a totally different style quarterbacks. One's got a lot of experience. One hardly has any. It's a super, super strange dynamic in this one. Yeah. And the Bobby Petrino element, which of course was a former offensive coordinator there at Auburn, and then also former head coach here at Arkansas. And now he's the offensive coordinator here.
Do you love him?
Oh man, more than anything.
Do you wake up thinking about him?
I do. Okay. Because that was the last time Arkansas was relevant in football. So kind of sucks, but it's true. But no, he's back. And again, the offense has been great.
Who do you love more, him or Calipari?
Oh, him, because Cal hasn't done anything yet. We'll see.
That's right.
So, but yeah, I think that Arkansas offensively is going to be really good in this game. They're going to be well prepared, but I still don't trust this team. Like I pardon the expression, but like I trust a fart when I have explosive diarrhea more than I trust this team. Like I just cannot completely go all in on them. I just can't do it.
Yeah, what an image there.
You're welcome.
There's a few like scheme things that we need to zero in on before we give our predictions officially. That's coming up on this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. All right, today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. John, can you imagine wagering anywhere than with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook?
Could not, not at all, especially with a line that is so perfect for this game too.
You think the line is perfect? 3.5?
Perfect. It's perfect.
What do you think about the over-under at 58.5? There's no way in the world I would ever touch that with real money, but I I think I'm leaning under, and I can't really like explain why.
See, I'm actually leaning towards the over, which I'm the only reason I'm going towards the over is because you're going to the under, because there's both defenses are pretty rough at times in the past game. So who knows? This could be a shootout. I wouldn't surprise me at all.
It could be. Yeah. If you told me this was like a 42-35 type game, I wouldn't be shocked. But I also wouldn't be shocked if it was a sloppy, like 13-20 type game too. I genuinely don't know what to expect. But hey, check out our friends at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com. Today's show is also brought to you by Roy. Roy stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. John, and what's so cool about this, and you know this, is there's no risk to the fan. If they give money to a specific player, then they bolt through the transfer portal, you get your money back, which I think is pretty cool. I think
actually, that's probably the best thing about it, because let's be honest, it's like 50% chance they're going to hit the portal, no matter who they are.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So, I think it's cool what Roy is doing. You get exclusive content from the athlete as well. So be sure to check that out. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter the referral code Locked On. And you'll be automatically entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000. $5,000. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. So as far as what each team is going to try to do on offense, because I lean towards you the same way you are, in the sense of both offenses should be able to score based off what we've seen so far. When Auburn has the football, what do you think that balance is going to be as far as run to pass? Because I think the most applicable thing you can look at is when y'all played Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon, an exceptional back. Arkansas really kept him in check. So if Auburn comes in wanting to say, hey, we're going to help out our redshirt freshman quarterback, Hank Brown, making his first SEC start, Jarquez Hunter tomorrow, you're also going to lean on you. Do you think that'll work?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I think Jarquez Hunter is a worse matchup for Arkansas than what Ollie Gordon was.
Okay, how come? Interesting.
I just think the type of running back that he is, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and run crazy, but I think he's going to have more success than what Ollie Gordon did. Because one of the reasons being is I felt like the defense or the offensive line for Oklahoma State was not as physical as what I'm sure Auburn's offensive line is going to be. So I think that if Jarquez Hunter goes out there and rushes for 120 plus yards, Auburn's winning this game easily.
I agree with that.
I also believe that on the other side, if Jaquinda Jackson rushes for 120 plus yards, it could be Arkansas going in that direction. It's going to come down to, if you're Travis Williams, another person that Auburn fans know, the defensive coordinator for Arkansas.
Wow, the crossover just gets hotter and hotter.
I know. So many connections going on. But I'm sure that what they're going to be doing is just saying, hey, let's just keep Jarquez Hunter out of it as much as possible and force Hank Brown to be the guy. See what he's got. I think Razorback fans and even the team would probably be okay. Hey, if you're going to get beat by Hank Brown because you're shutting down Jarquez Hunter, it's just going to be the thing. But rather make all the pressure go on the new quarterback over there.
Well, you got to think Auburn's defensive game plan is going to be the same. Try to limit the running game with Jackson and Green and force them to throw it. That's got to be the game plan for both teams, right?
Yeah, you have to be, because Taylor Green, he's not very accurate. How many players are in the country, I'd love to know, have 800 passing yards and only 3 touchdowns? Like, that's kind of a ridiculous
number. Do.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to do.
But here's the thing. Taylor Green, and I don't know if any of your audience will remember, Taylor Green's got a little bit of a Matt Jones element to him from Arkansas way back when.
Yeah.
He can beat you with his legs. So even if he's not throwing, Arkansas is the best team in the country at third down conversions. And the reason being is because they're back there to pass, and Taylor Green just takes off, and he's going to outrun you. So I would definitely, if I'm Auburn, try to quarterback spy or something like that, because Taylor Green's not beating you with his arm. He's going to try to beat you with your legs, which is a lot more dangerous.
Yeah. As far as just people coming from Boise State to the SEC, Auburn does not have a good track record there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Taylor Green.
Hey, Arkansas hired Houston Nutt from Boise State. So, again, more connections.
Yeah, I guess so. So against UAB, you're going to have to fill in the blank to help me out with this. But he completed like 11 or 12 passes, and like 8 of them were to one receiver. Isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah.
If you're Auburn and you look at that, is that relevant to the game plan, or do you look more at Oklahoma State and what they did, where it was kind of a balanced passing attack?
I would think it's more relevant to look at Oklahoma State, and
I think so too.
It's not anything about taking away from UAB, but I think UAB just hit Arkansas in the mouth with a great game plan, and Arkansas was overlooking them. It's unexcusable. It shouldn't happen, but I think it did. So I think Arkansas maybe have been focused a little bit more on Auburn for that reason. So I would say that to Andrew Armstrong, with the wide receiver that you were referring to, he's got 18 catches on the year. What's crazy is he didn't even play the first game of the year. So in 2 games, He's had 18 catches, and he's been the only one that Taylor Green's been targeting, it seems like. So that's another element to the pass game where
is that a read thing? Is that just a not being able to go through progressions as a college quarterback thing?
I think part of it. I think Andrew Armstrong is a great wide receiver. I mean, he's a great
I'm not taking
guy.
anything away from him. I'm just saying from the quarterback standpoint, like is that the safety net and like he's uncomfortable going anywhere else? I
think so, because Luke who was like an incredible tight end, he's got 5 catches on the year. They just haven't been targeting him. Mm-hmm. I think it's that. I think it's just what Taylor Green's comfortable with. But he's got to make the reads. He's got to make the progressions if you're going to be good in this. You can't just throw it to one guy and then take off running if it's not there. It's just not going to work. So, yeah, it's been wild, and that's where it's kind of scary for Arkansas on the other side with the defense, where I don't care what anybody says. Arkansas is amazing at making other quarterbacks look like Heisman Trophy candidates. So,
going back to that Cal game, Auburn people will tell you the exact same thing. So, there's no telling what to expect with this game because of that very reason. It's just like you never know what team is going to show up, especially through the first 3 weeks of this season. John, something that's been interesting, and this has kind of been an Auburn gripe, is the lack of pass rush, because Auburn is playing a lot of 3-down linemen, and the game plan against New Mexico, which I think New Mexico, the way they're built, it's like a not as good version of Arkansas. Mobile quarterback, defense not really that great against the pass, and obviously they don't have SEC athletes like Arkansas does, but I think they're like an Arkansas light, I guess. And so that's who Auburn played last week. And their 2 best edge rushers, they're not sending them that much. They're putting them in coverage, and they try to do the whole keep cage thing where you keep the quarterback in the pocket. I don't think you could do that this week against Arkansas, because I do think Green is a good enough passer with the amount of time that'll allow you to have. I think he'll get some passes off. So what do you expect from that? I mean, do you expect Auburn to change what they do defensively for this, even though they saw a similar type offense last week?
I mean, they probably should. I think so too. Yeah. It's with Jaquindon Jackson at the running back. I know I keep talking about him. The dude's averaging 8.4 yards a carry.
Jaquindon Jackson is such a cool running back name.
Oh, dude. And when this guy came in,
I don't think it's Rocket Sanders like a year ago when we had this conversation, but Jaquindon Jackson is a great name.
Jaquindon Jackson's better than Rocket Sanders. I'll tell you that.
Just saying that because he left you?
No, I'm just saying that he is.
Okay.
But it has nothing to do, of course, with him leaving. Not only not. Sure. But no, when I saw him in spring, even I was like, this guy is just built. But either way, I feel like if Auburn's going to do that, they need to put pressure. They need to bring whatever they need to against Jack to keep Jaquindon Jackson in check and to make Taylor Green have to think. That's their only chance of that, because like you mentioned, haven't had a lot of luck getting pressure on the quarterback. Arkansas is the same way. I swear these are the same teams. Arkansas has not had any pressure on the quarterback. Landon Jackson, who's preseason all SEC, is missing. He's on a milk carton. I don't know where he's at.
Is that number 40?
Yeah, it's number 40.
Yeah, Freeze talked about him a lot, specifically at the presser earlier this week. Gotta know where 40 is.
Yeah, so but for what it's worth, Sam Pittman said in his press comments earlier this week, he's like, we've been really focusing, talking to Deke Adams, the defensive line coach, about getting more pressure and trying to turn that up. So I don't know what that looks like. They're going to try to do it, but yeah, that's something to where both teams, again, it's going to go down to who makes the most mistakes and who actually surpasses what they've been bad at over the first 3 games. I don't know. Something's got to get between them two.
Yeah. So who wins on Saturday? We share our thoughts and tell you exactly what's going to happen right here on this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. John, can you imagine buying tickets anywhere than with our friends at Game Time?
No, because I like the little feature that you can toggle where you can see the all-in pricing. That's my favorite thing. because when you have that, you don't have to worry about any hidden fees or any of that nonsense that you see.
Yeah, how many times have you gone, okay, I'm going to buy these tickets for $20. You get a checkout, it's like $80. It's like, what? Where did this come from? Not with Game Time. You don't have to do that at all. You can also see the view from your seat. They also have all these little symbols next to your tickets on the map of the stadium to kind of tell you where the best deals are and the lightning deals. It's great. It's great. I bought some tickets I go to see the Patriots every year. I bought my Patriot tickets earlier this week, so I'm hype. I'm hype, John.
I bet you are.
I'm stoked. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, John? What time is it?
It's game time.
Yeah. All right, final few minutes of this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. Zach Blackerby, John Nabors. I think Auburn wins this game. I think the home field advantage and I think the Hank Brown momentum within the program is I don't think it's going away, John.
Well, that's great. Arkansas has won twice in a row now in Auburn. That's right, twice. They've won both times that they've played in Auburn, including that 2020 game. So just make sure everyone knows that they did win that game. So
for folks who don't catch what you're saying, you're talking about the backward spikes thing where Bo Nix threw the ball backwards and it got blown dead. That's what you're talking about.
Officials bailing out Auburn once again.
It still is wild to me that whenever this comes up, the ball is at Shedrick Jackson's feet and he hears the whistle blow. And so he doesn't pick the ball up because the play is over. Like this assumption that if it was called correctly and Arkansas wouldn't have gotten the football it's always been strange to me, but you do you.
Yeah. Well, I saw a Razorback football player on top of the ball. So apparently it wasn't a clear immediate recovery, but that's fine. They got an apology from the SEC later anyway. So they must have been wrong about something. But either way, I honestly believe Auburn's going to win this game. At least they should. And if they don't, Hugh Freeze maybe needs to be fired because this is a team with Arkansas that if you're at home in Auburn and, I'm sure it's a great atmosphere over there, but if you're at home in Auburn, you should win this game. This is a game that I'm sure all you Auburn fans have circled before the season starts. Like, it's a win. Well, if Arkansas goes into your house and beats you, it'll be awesome for me. It'll be great for me.
100%. It'd be great for you.
Yeah, because especially since I don't really care for Hugh Freeze. But still, I think that it's a game that Auburn will win, and it'll be close. One possession game towards the end. I think it's either going to be really disgustingly ugly and low scoring, or it's just going to be defense optional going all over the field. But either way, I think it's like a 3-4 point game, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the spread is right on by our friends at FanDuel there. So I'll give you that for sure. And there's an element of this too. Like, I mean, Hank Brown's play, I think he's the most important player in this game, I think, as far as winning or losing, just because we don't know. We just don't know how the redshirt freshman's going to play. I mean, this is a kid that doesn't seem like he's phased by a whole lot, which that's great. But, does it change when he's in an SEC game? Like, we just don't know. We just don't know, John. So I do think it's going to be interesting to see like Cam Coleman, who did not play last week. He's Auburn's probably most gifted and talented player on the roster, the true freshman. Does he make an impact? I'm not particularly impressed with either of Arkansas's corners. And I'm sure you can say the same about Auburn's corners, the way they've played so far this year. Like, whose defense steps up more than the others? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I know we've said the same thing like 5 different ways so far today, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
Well, even a player that isn't like Arkansas secondary is pretty banged up too. And Hudson Clark, and a lot of people may know him as number 17. I call him the no-fly zone. But he is looks like he's doubtful for this game, so he may not even play. And Jalen Braxton didn't play at all. Arkansas's arguably best cornerback didn't play at all against UAB. He's supposed to play this weekend, so that's something that, again, if you're Auburn, you need to attack. You need to get after it. But if Auburn can't throw the ball with Hank Brown, that's kind of the key. You mentioned Hank Brown. It's 100% true. If Hank Brown doesn't throw the ball, Arkansas wins. I feel like
I agree with that.
As simple as it gets. Arkansas wins this game if that's the case.
Do you think there's one team that's more likely to kind of establish their running game over the other? You mentioned both defenses have been good at limiting the run. Do you have faith in one running game versus the opposing rush defense more than the other?
Yeah, I'd probably have a little bit more faith in Arkansas just because the way that they have utilized Jaquindon Jackson and Taylor Green in that combo.
Yeah.
I just feel like they have the options there. And, we've talked about how much I love Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino is one of the greatest offensive minds, and he's going to find ways to get him the ball. I'm not saying
What's your favorite thing about Bobby Petrino?
He wins. So that's a good thing. Yeah, usually. But he's got a great off. Like this Arkansas offense was so bad last year, and here they are, one of the best ones in the SEC. So he's turned it around. But still,
if you could take him to dinner, one place, where are you taking him?
It's a good question. He seems like a steak guy, so probably a steak place.
Sure.
Maybe
high class individual. No question about it.
That's right. Nothing but the best for old BMFP. So yeah.
I'm with you.
I'm telling you though, like it's going to be, I think Arkansas with the quarterback, running back, great runners.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I'd probably lean towards that.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. So what do you think the difference is? I mean, you talk about, okay, Arkansas's rushing attack is going to be more likely to break through than Auburn's, but you've picked Auburn to win this game. Like, what do you think the difference is?
I think it's the same thing that's haunted Arkansas is this dumb mistakes, just muff punts. Xavion Story, the linebacker, on a big third down play, suplexing a Oklahoma State player, which you can't do. That is a penalty,
right? But it looks cool when you do it.
Oh yeah, it looks great, especially when the yellow flag comes out. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's always been the difference for Arkansas. There's so many games they should have won, and they have in the past year and a half, but they kill themselves, man. They hurt themselves so much. So to me, that's the difference in this game. And I also wanted to throw in too about the rushing attack real quick. Another reason I believe in Arkansas is because Arkansas's defense has gone up against Ollie Gordon, which they've been tested against a great running back, and they answered the test.
100%.
So that's another thing too. Is not to say Auburn hadn't been tested, but I think Arkansas has had a little better of a person to go up against and shut him down. So a little bit more evidence there, a little proof in the pudding for you.
Do you think Arkansas is a better team than Cal?
Yes, I know you don't, but yes, they are.
I think it's close. Do you think it's close, or do you think I'm way off on that?
I don't think you're way off on it because it's still early in the season. But I mean, I still think Arkansas and Cal, if they faced each other, I would probably lean towards Arkansas again because they screw up all the time. They can't beat anybody.
But it's close. I mean, a lot of Arkansas people are acting like y'all are in different tiers, and I don't think. And Auburn's in that tier too, right? Like Auburn lost to Cal for a reason. Now the reason they lost, they have pulled, and is no longer an issue. But like Auburn's in that tier as well. Like I'm not like saying. I don't think I'm saying anything crazy here.
Well, I know, but do you think Oklahoma State is better or worse than Auburn?
Better.
You think Auburn is better than Oklahoma State?
No, I think Oklahoma State is better than Auburn.
Right.
Oklahoma State's ranked. Yeah.
Right. So it kind of be like kind of the same thing where Arkansas felt like, hey, they should have beaten Oklahoma State
won.
in 100%. Their place, and it went to overtime. But again, shooting themselves in the foot. So I think that's where Razorback fans are coming from. It's like, hey, you're saying that you're better than Cal, yet we're over here going on the road against a
totally valid
opponent and losing in overtime. So
totally valid. John, for all the Auburn folks watching, how can they check out all the Arkansas stuff?
Yeah, they basically can just go in this thing called a search bar on podcast and also on YouTube, and just type in "Locked On Razorbacks."
There it is.
If you don't know how to spell it, it's Razorbacks. So
you almost misspelled it. You almost put an ES in there. You almost said ES at the end.
No, I almost said Razorbackers, because that's what some people tried to make a thing, and it's not. So
I'm glad that didn't work.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible. So you can check it all out there. In fact, I did a podcast yesterday that I'm sure a lot of your fans would love to hear, where I just explained why I hate Auburn. So
Yep. Are you coming down here?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I would rather.
We talked to media days. You said you were thinking about it. So
I was thinking about it, but I don't want to. There's other places I'd rather go than Auburn, Alabama. No offense.
What's your favorite town in the SEC to visit?
I haven't been to all of them, but I will say I really enjoyed Athens, Georgia. That's
really
cool. Yeah.
Anybody bark at you?
Yeah, they did. And
that's part of it at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, I got barked at by a grown man.
Yeah. That's that's what we all want in life, right? To have that. But
yeah,
Auburn's not bad. It's just, I don't know. Y'all have too many things about that don't connect for me. That's why I don't like it. Like, your mascot's a tiger, yet you cry war eagle, but you throw toilet paper on a tree. None of it adds up and is consistent.
All sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All sounds good to me. Hey, for all the Arkansas folks, if you want more Auburn stuff, check out Locked On Auburn wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. This has been a crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks.